Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Marcus Aurelius. What if I told you that respect has far less to do with how loud you speak, how much you explain yourself, or how hard you try to impress, and everything to do with what you say when it actually matters? Most people talk too much. They over-explain, over-defend, and overreact. And without realizing it, they give away their power. You've probably felt this yourself. Those moments when you said too much, justified yourself unnecessarily, or tried to prove your worth, only to feel less respected afterward. The Stoics understood something most people still don't. A single well-chosen sentence delivered with calm certainty can command instant respect. Not aggression, not arrogance, just grounded authority. In this video, I'll share 8 Stoic phrases, simple, timeless responses that immediately change how people perceive you. These aren't motivational quotes to post online. These are real-world verbal tools you can use in conversations, conflicts, and high-pressure moments to project self-respect, emotional control, and quiet strength. And here's the key. The final phrase is the most powerful of all. It flips the dynamic instantly and works even with difficult, manipulative, or disrespectful people. So watch this video till the very end. Don't skip. Because mastering even one of these phrases can change how people treat you starting today. Number 1, I don't need to explain myself. I don't need to explain myself. Say that slowly in your mind. Feel the weight of it, not as a defensive snap, not as a dramatic exit line, but as a calm, grounded truth. When you truly embody that phrase, people sense it immediately. There's a steadiness in you, a quiet authority. You're no longer scrambling to justify your choices, narrate your motives, or soften your boundaries so everyone feels comfortable. You simply stand in what you've decided, and that composure commands respect. Most people over-explain because they're afraid of being misunderstood, afraid of being disliked, afraid of losing approval. So they rush to clarify every detail, polish every rough edge, and preempt every possible objection. But the more you explain unnecessarily, the more you signal uncertainty. You imply that your decisions require external validation to be legitimate. That's not strength. That's dependence dressed up as politeness. The Stoics would urge you to step out of that habit. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." That includes being misunderstood. That includes letting someone form an incomplete opinion of you without leaping in to correct it. When you no longer panic at the thought of misinterpretation, you reclaim your center. You stop living in reaction mode. This doesn't mean you become cold or uncommunicative. It means you stop defending what doesn't need defending. There's a difference. If you've acted according to your principles, if you've thought things through, aligned your behavior with your values, then you owe no performance to anyone. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Notice what he didn't say. He didn't say, "Convince everyone." He didn't say, "Make sure they approve." Your responsibility ends at integrity. You need to train yourself to tolerate the discomfort of silence after a decision. That space where you don't rush to fill the air with explanations is powerful. It feels awkward at first. Your mind will itch. It will push you to add just one more sentence, just one more justification. Resist that urge. Breathe. Let your words stand on their own. Here's a practical exercise. For the next week, practice giving shorter answers. Not rude answers, not dismissive ones, just complete, concise responses. When you've said what's necessary, stop. Notice how often you're tempted to keep talking. That temptation is your old conditioning trying to reassert itself. Each time you choose restraint, you strengthen your inner discipline. Seneca wrote, "He who is brave is free." Bravery isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the courage to let someone think what they will. Sometimes it's the refusal to twist yourself into a more palatable version just to avoid friction. When you say calmly, "I don't need to explain myself," you're not attacking anyone. You're declaring independence from unnecessary approval. You must also understand this. Over-explaining dilutes your presence. When you stack too many reasons under a decision, you subtly undermine it. It starts to sound negotiable even if it's not. But when you speak plainly and stop, your words carry weight. People lean in. They sense that you're not fishing for agreement, you're simply stating your position. This is where self-trust becomes crucial. If you don't trust your own judgment, you will always feel compelled to defend it. So build that trust deliberately. Each evening, reflect on your choices. Ask yourself, did I act according to my values today? If the answer is yes, let that reinforce your confidence. If the answer is no, adjust privately. This daily audit strengthens your internal authority. Over time, you won't feel the same urgency to seek reassurance from others. Another Stoic reminder comes from Epictetus. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. When someone questions your decision, that's the event. Your reaction, defensive rambling or composed brevity, is where your character shows. Train your reaction. Practice responding with calm clarity instead of emotional overflow. You should also separate explanation from justification. Explaining can be useful when collaboration requires clarity. Justifying, on the other hand, often comes from insecurity. Before you speak, pause and ask yourself, am I clarifying for mutual understanding or am I seeking approval? Be honest. That moment of self-awareness changes everything. Try this mental rehearsal. Imagine someone doubting your choice. Feel the initial surge of defensiveness. Now picture yourself responding with a steady voice, offering only what's necessary and then stopping. No extra details. No frantic elaboration, just stillness. Visualize holding eye contact. Visualize your shoulders relaxed. This mental practice prepares you for the real moment. The Stoics called this premeditation, preparing your mind before the challenge arrives. There's also a deeper layer here. When you constantly explain yourself, you subtly communicate that others are the judges of your life. But your life is not a courtroom. You are not on trial. You are a person navigating choices based on your principles. That shift in perspective is liberating. You stop performing, you start living. And here's the paradox. When you stop trying so hard to be understood, people often respect you more. Not because you're mysterious, but because you're grounded. There's a solidity in someone who doesn't crumble under scrutiny. A calm refusal to over-justify signals that you've already done the internal work. You've weighed your reasons. You've accepted the consequences. You're at peace with your decision. That peace is contagious. To cultivate it, practice voluntary restraint in conversation. Deliberately leave small pauses after you speak. Let silence breathe. Notice how powerful it feels not to rush in and patch imaginary cracks in your statement. Each pause is a declaration. I stand by what I said. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." If your thoughts are filled with fear of judgment, your speech will reflect that anxiety. Clean up the thought and the speech will follow. Replace, "They might not agree" with "Agreement is not required." Replace, "I need them to understand" with "I've made my decision thoughtfully." These subtle shifts rewire your mindset. Remember this phrase, "I don't need to explain myself," is not a weapon. It's a boundary. Use it with calmness, not contempt. The goal is not to dominate conversations, but to reclaim your composure. When you stop over-explaining, you conserve energy. You protect your dignity. You speak from strength rather than fear. So start today. Catch yourself before you spiral into excessive justification. Trim your words, trust your reasoning. Accept that misunderstanding is part of human interaction. You cannot control every interpretation and you don't need to. Stand tall in your decisions. Speak clearly. Then let your silence finish the sentence. That is how you embody Stoic calm. That is how you command respect, not by demanding it, but by demonstrating that your self-worth does not hinge on anyone else's approval. Number 2, I'll think about it. I'll think about it. 4 simple words, quiet, unassuming. And yet when you say them with composure, they carry weight. They signal something rare in a reactive world. You are not easily pushed. You are not rushed into decisions. You are not controlled by pressure, emotion, or urgency manufactured by someone else. When you adopt this phrase as a habit, you begin to radiate a calm authority that people instinctively respect. Most people respond immediately. They agree too fast. They reject too quickly. They defend themselves before they've even understood what's being asked. That urgency leaks insecurity. It says, "I need to resolve this now so I can feel safe." But when you pause and say, "I'll think about it," you flip the script. You show that your mind is not a public space open to invasion. It is governed territory. You decide what enters and what stays. This is deeply Stoic. Epictetus taught, "No man is free who is not master of himself." When you feel the tug to respond instantly, whether to please, to avoid discomfort, or to prove something, that's the moment your self-mastery is being tested. And you don't need to pass that test with a speech. You pass it with restraint. You pass it with stillness. You pass it with those 4 steady words. You have to train yourself to tolerate the silence that follows. That's where the real growth happens. After you say, "I'll think about it," there may be a pause. Let it breathe. Don't rush to fill it. Don't soften it with nervous laughter or over-explanation. Hold your ground calmly. That silence is not awkward, it's powerful. It communicates that your decisions are not up for immediate extraction. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." When someone presents you with a request, an opinion, or a challenge that is an outside event, your immediate reaction is optional. You can choose to create space. In that space, you reclaim power. The Stoics called this the discipline of assent, the ability to withhold immediate judgment and instead examine impressions before accepting them as true or acting on them. "I'll think about it" is the modern embodiment of that discipline. You should practice this deliberately. Start small. The next time you feel pressured to respond on the spot, resist the reflex. Feel the impulse rising in your chest. Notice it without obeying it. Then calmly say the phrase, not defensively, not sarcastically, just evenly. "I'll think about it." That's it. Let it land. Over time, this will rewire your default mode from reactive to reflective. There's something else happening here that you need to understand. When you pause, you demonstrate that your approval is not automatic, and people value what isn't easily given. Seneca wrote, "He who is brave is free." Bravery isn't always loud. Sometimes it's simply the courage to delay, the courage to disappoint temporarily, the courage to step away from emotional immediacy and choose reason instead. You are not obligated to decide in someone else's time frame. That truth alone will change how you move through conversations. Urgency is often a tactic, conscious or unconscious, to bypass your judgment. When you slow the pace, you protect your clarity. You send a message without hostility. Your mind deserves time. Your choices deserve thought. But this only works if you actually think about it. The phrase is not a polite escape hatch. It's a commitment to reflection. After you step away, sit with the question or request. Ask yourself, does this align with my values? Is this wise? Am I being driven by fear, guilt, ego, or genuine conviction? Write your thoughts down if you need to. Journal for 5 minutes. Strip the emotion away. Look at the situation as if you were advising someone else. That detachment sharpens judgment. Here's a simple exercise to strengthen this habit. At the end of each day, review one decision you made. Ask, did I react too quickly anywhere? Did I say yes when I needed time? Did I dismiss something without reflection? No self-criticism, just awareness. Then visualize how you could have responded with a calm, "I'll think about it." This mental rehearsal prepares you for the next opportunity. Another practice, build a physical cue. When you feel pressured, take one slow breath before speaking. Inhale through your nose, pause, exhale slowly. That single breath interrupts impulsivity. It creates the smallest wedge of space between stimulus and response. Viktor Frankl, though not a Stoic, echoed Stoic wisdom when he wrote about that space being where our freedom lies. The Stoics knew this centuries earlier. You are not your first reaction. You are the one who decides whether to act on it. You might worry that delaying makes you seem uncertain. It doesn't. It makes you seem deliberate. There's a difference. Uncertainty is anxious and scattered. Deliberation is calm and centered. When you speak slowly and hold eye contact while saying, "I'll think about it," your tone matters. Keep it even, keep it steady. No apology, no explanation unless necessary. Confidence often whispers. And understand this clearly, you are allowed to change your mind after thinking. You are allowed to come back with a yes, a no, or a boundary. In fact, when you respond after reflection, your words carry more authority. They are not emotional flares, they are measured conclusions. That consistency builds respect over time. Epictetus also said, "Be not swept off your feet by the vividness of the impression, but say, 'Wait for me a little impression, let me see who you are.'" That is the spirit behind this phrase. When something is presented to you, you don't immediately accept its urgency or emotional charge. You examine it, you test it. You give yourself that little moment of pause. So make this a rule for yourself. No major decision without space. No immediate agreement under pressure. No reactive defense when challenged. Replace the rush with reflection. Replace impulse with inquiry, and anchor it all in those four grounded words. You'll notice something subtle as you practice this. Your anxiety will decrease. Your conversations will feel less chaotic. You'll start to sense a growing steadiness within yourself. That steadiness is what people respond to. It's not dominance. It's not aggression. It's composure. And composure commands respect in ways force never can. Start today. Use the phrase at least once. Mean it. Feel the shift. Then follow through by actually thinking. Reflect with honesty. Decide with integrity. Speak with clarity when you return. Do this consistently and you won't just gain respect from others, you'll deepen your respect for yourself. And that is the foundation of every strong presence. Number 3, that's outside my control. When you calmly say, "That's outside my control," something shifts in the room. The energy changes. You're no longer scrambling, no longer hooked by chaos, no longer volunteering to carry weight that was never yours to begin with. And people feel that. They may not be able to name it, but they recognize it. It's steadiness. It's self-command. It's the quiet authority of someone who knows where their power begins and where it ends. That kind of clarity commands respect because it's rare. Most people exhaust themselves wrestling with the uncontrollable. You don't have to. Epictetus opened his Enchiridion with a line that should be etched into your mind. Some things are up to us and some things are not. That's it. That's the foundation. Your opinions, your choices, your effort, your attitude, those are yours. Other people's reactions, outcomes, timing, reputation, luck, those are not. When you blur that boundary, you suffer. When you draw it clearly and refuse to cross it, you become unshakable. And when you're unshakable, people notice. But don't treat the phrase as an excuse. "That's outside my control" isn't a shrug. It isn't apathy, it's discipline. It's you refusing to leak energy into places where it can't create change. You are saying, calmly and without resentment, that you will focus on what is yours to shape. That focus radiates competence. It signals maturity. It tells others you won't be manipulated by fear, pressure, or emotional turbulence. You have to practice this internally before you ever say it out loud. Start by catching yourself when you tense up over something uncertain. Notice the urge to micromanage outcomes, the compulsion to overthink how others will respond. Pause right there, take a slow breath. Ask yourself with brutal honesty, is this within my control? If the answer is no, say the phrase quietly in your mind, "That's outside my control." Feel what happens in your body when you release it. The jaw softens, the shoulders drop. Your mind clears. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Read that slowly. Strength doesn't come from dominating circumstances. It comes from mastering your response. When you embody that, you stop reacting impulsively. You stop chasing reassurance. You stop begging reality to be different, and that composure carries weight. There is something deeply respectable about a person who refuses to panic over what they cannot command. Think about the alternative. When you argue with reality, you look unstable. When you obsess over uncontrollable variables, you appear insecure. But when you calmly state, "That's outside my control," you demonstrate boundaries. You show that your emotional state is not up for negotiation. You are not outsourcing your peace. This doesn't mean you withdraw from responsibility. In fact, it demands the opposite. Once you separate what you can't control, you must double down on what you can. Effort, preparation, integrity, courage, that's your arena. And when people see you directing your full attention there without complaint, without theatrics, they trust you more. Respect grows from reliability. You need to build this habit deliberately. Try this exercise daily. Draw 2 columns on a page. Label one mine and the other not mine. As situations arise, mentally sort them. Your effort, mine, the final result. Not mine, your tone of voice. Mine, someone else's interpretation, not mine. Do this consistently. Train your perception. Over time, the sorting becomes automatic. You'll feel the line instantly. Seneca warned, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality." Much of your stress comes from attempting to manage possibilities that don't belong to you. When you say, "That's outside my control," you cut through imagined catastrophes. You return to the present. You stop rehearsing disasters. That calm presence makes you formidable in a quiet way. There's also courage in the phrase. It takes bravery to accept uncertainty. It takes strength to admit you cannot dictate every outcome. But paradoxically, that admission makes you more powerful, not less. You stop pretending to be omnipotent. You become precise. And precision is impressive. You should practice saying the phrase without defensiveness. No bitterness. No edge in your voice. Just calm clarity. The tone matters. If you sound resentful, it weakens the effect. If you sound grounded, it amplifies it. Stand tall. Breathe slowly. Speak evenly. The delivery communicates as much as the words. Another exercise, each night, reflect on one moment where you tried to control something that wasn't yours. Don't judge yourself. Just observe it. Then imagine how you could have responded differently, calmly acknowledging the limit of your control and redirecting your energy. This mental rehearsal strengthens your future response. The Stoics believed in constant reflection. You should too. Understand this clearly. The phrase is not passive, it is selective. You are choosing where to invest your life force. You are deciding that your attention is valuable and will not be squandered. That decision alone changes how people perceive you. You appear centered, intentional, difficult to rattle. And here's something subtle but important. When you stop trying to control everything, you become easier to work with. You're not rigid. You're not reactive. You're not spiraling when variables shift. You adapt. You adjust your effort without collapsing emotionally. That adaptability earns admiration because it signals inner security. You must also resist the temptation to repeat the phrase mechanically. Let it be a genuine reminder, not a slogan. Each time you say it, feel the boundary. Feel the shift from external obsession to internal focus. That sensation is the core of Stoic strength. Over time, this habit reshapes your identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who operates within their sphere of influence and leaves the rest alone. That self-concept reinforces itself. You become calmer, more decisive, less needy for validation or guarantees. Others sense that you are not desperate for certainty, and desperation is the quickest way to lose respect. Epictetus also said, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens." That's the full equation, not resignation, not indifference to effort, but disciplined acceptance paired with focused action. Say the phrase, then act where you can. That combination is potent, so start now. Catch the next moment of tension, ask the question, draw the line, say, "That's outside my control." Then redirect your attention to your thoughts, your actions, your character. Guard those fiercely. Prove those relentlessly. Let the rest unfold without your interference. When you live this way, respect isn't something you chase, it's something that follows, because people trust the person who trusts their own boundaries. They rely on the one who doesn't crumble under uncertainty. They listen to the one who speaks from clarity instead of fear. And you can be that person, not by controlling everything, but by mastering yourself. Number 4, I'm at peace with my decision. I'm at peace with my decision. Say that slowly. Feel the weight of it. It doesn't argue, it doesn't chase approval, it doesn't invite debate. It lands calm and settled like a stone placed firmly on the ground. When you speak those words and actually mean them, people sense it immediately. There's no tremor in your voice, no hidden plea for reassurance. Just stillness. And that stillness commands respect. You have to understand why this works. Most people don't struggle with decisions because they lack intelligence. They struggle because they fear judgment. They fear exclusion. They fear being wrong in public. So they hesitate, they waffle, they over-explain. But when you say, I'm at peace with my decision, you signal something rare. You've already wrestled with your doubts in private. You've examined your motives. You've weighed the consequences. And now you're standing in your choice without agitation. That kind of composure is magnetic. The Stoics built their lives around this inner steadiness. Epictetus said, make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. That's the foundation. Your decision-making is in your control. The outcome is not. When you reach peace, it's not because you're certain everything will go perfectly. It's because you've done your part. You've acted according to reason and virtue. You've aligned with your principles. What follows is outside your jurisdiction. And once you truly accept that, anxiety loosens its grip. But you don't arrive at peace by pretending, you earn it. Before you ever say those words out loud, you must practice saying them internally. When you're facing a choice, pause, breathe, ask yourself, is this aligned with my values? Is this guided by fear or by clarity? Am I choosing from integrity or from the desire to be liked? These questions are uncomfortable. Good. Let them be. Discomfort is often the doorway to honest self-examination. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That strength is exactly what I'm at peace with my decision communicates. It tells the world you're not trying to manipulate outcomes or control opinions. You've mastered the only territory that truly belongs to you, your mind. And people instinctively respect someone who governs themselves. Here's the habit you need to build. Stop outsourcing your certainty. Don't rush to poll everyone around you every time you face a fork in the road. Counsel can be useful, yes, but constant validation seeking erodes your confidence. Practice making small decisions independently and committing to them without second-guessing. Start with low-stakes choices. Decide, act. Don't revisit it mentally 10 times afterward. Notice the urge to reconsider, to replay, to analyze every possible angle. Then gently release it. Peace comes from commitment, not perfection. You will not have perfect information. You will not foresee every ripple effect. Waiting for total certainty is a disguised form of avoidance. Instead, gather what you reasonably can, reflect, choose, and then stand by it. When doubts creep in later, remind yourself, I made this decision with the best judgment I had at the time. That is enough. Seneca warned about the torment of indecision. He wrote, "He suffers more than necessary, who suffers before it is necessary." When you continually question a choice you've already made, you suffer twice. First in anticipation, then in reality. Peace cuts that suffering in half. It draws a line. It says, I will deal with consequences when they arrive, not before. To cultivate this mindset, adopt a daily reflection practice. Each evening, review one decision you made that day. Not to criticize yourself, but to observe. Ask, did I act with courage, with wisdom, with fairness? If yes, acknowledge it. Let yourself feel that quiet pride. If not, don't spiral. Simply note what you'll adjust next time. This is how you strengthen trust in yourself, through honest review without self-punishment. And when someone challenges you after you've chosen your path, resist the reflex to defend yourself excessively. Listen, consider. If their perspective reveals something you truly overlooked, you can revise your stance without shame. Flexibility is not weakness. But if their challenge is merely opinion layered with emotion, you don't have to absorb it. You can calmly say, I've thought it through, I'm at peace with my decision. Then stop. Let silence do the rest. Your calm will speak louder than any argument. There's something else you must internalize. Peace is not the absence of doubt, it's the refusal to be ruled by it. Doubt will whisper, it always does. The Stoics didn't eliminate uncertainty, they trained themselves to coexist with it. You can do the same. When doubt arises, don't panic. Don't interpret it as a sign you failed. Instead, acknowledge it like passing weather. It's there, it's uncomfortable, and it will move on. Try this exercise when you're torn between options. Write down the worst realistic outcome of your decision. Then write how you would respond if that outcome occurred. Be specific. You'll often discover that you're more resilient than you think. Fear shrinks when you face it directly. Peace grows in its place. Another powerful habit is setting a decision deadline. Give yourself a defined window to deliberate, an hour, a day, a week, depending on the magnitude. When that window closes, choose, and once you choose, commit. No circling back unless new, significant information appears. This trains your mind to stop looping endlessly. It conditions you to trust your own reasoning. When you consistently operate this way, something shifts. You stop appearing hesitant. You stop broadcasting uncertainty. People notice. They may not articulate it, but they feel the difference. Your presence becomes steadier. Your words carry weight because they're backed by inner resolution. And here's the deeper layer. Being at peace with your decision means you're prepared to accept responsibility. You're not blaming circumstances. You're not hiding behind others. You're saying, "This was my call." That ownership is powerful. It communicates maturity. It signals that you're not fragile. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Let that guide your decisions. When your actions align with what you genuinely believe is right and true, peace becomes accessible. Not effortless, but attainable, so practice. Today, choose one area where you've been hesitating, reflect, decide, then consciously tell yourself, "I'm at peace with my decision." Notice how it feels. There might be tension at first. That's okay. Stay with it. Over time, that sentence will settle deeper into your bones. Peace is persuasive. It radiates. It doesn't shout. It does scramble. It simply stands. And when you stand like that, rooted in your judgment, anchored in your values, respect follows naturally. Not because you demanded it, not because you forced it, but because you embodied something rare, a mind that has chosen and rests. Number 5, say less, do more. Say less, do more. It sounds simple, almost too simple. But don't underestimate it. Those 4 words carry a kind of quiet authority that most people never tap into. You live in a world that rewards noise, constant commentary, endless explanations, dramatic declarations of intent. And yet the people who command the deepest respect are rarely the loudest in the room. They conserve their words. They move with intention. They let their actions speak long before their mouths ever do. If you want that kind of presence, you have to retrain yourself. You have to become comfortable with restraint. Epictetus put it plainly, be mostly silent or speak only what is necessary. That's not a suggestion to become cold or distant. It's a discipline. It's about refusing to waste energy on empty talk. Every time you overshare your plans, defend your position too quickly, or try to impress with excessive words, you dilute your impact. You scatter your strength. When you speak less, your words carry weight. They land differently. People lean in because they know you don't speak just to fill space. But this isn't just about silence. It's about redirecting that saved energy into action. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." That line should hit you square in the chest. How often do you talk about what you're going to become? How often do you explain your intentions, justify your ambitions, or outline your standards? There's nothing wrong with vision. But respect is not built on declarations. It's built on evidence. And evidence comes from what you do repeatedly, especially when no one is watching. You need to understand something. Talking creates a temporary illusion of progress. Action creates the real thing. When you announce your goals too freely, your brain gets a small reward just for speaking them. It feels productive. It feels like momentum. But it's not the same as doing the work. The Stoic path demands more from you. It asks for quiet consistency. It asks you to trade performance for discipline. Start by observing your own habits. Notice how often you explain yourself. Notice the urge to clarify your motives, to defend your choices, to prove your intelligence. You don't need to crush that impulse harshly, just catch it. Then pause, take one breath, ask yourself, is this necessary? If it isn't, let it go. Silence, when chosen deliberately, is not weakness, it is control. There's something powerful about being a person who doesn't rush to speak. When you slow down your responses, when you allow gaps in conversation without scrambling to fill them, you project steadiness. You signal that you are not anxious for approval. You're not desperate to be heard. You are comfortable, and comfort in silence is rare. That rarity commands respect. But remember, the second half of the phrase matters just as much. Do more. This is where your character is forged. Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Words can be part of that waste. Endless commentary, endless reaction, endless analysis. What if you redirected that energy into deliberate effort instead? What if you decided that for every promise you speak, you will produce twice the effort in silence? Try this practical exercise. For the next 7 days, dramatically reduce how much you announce your plans. Keep your goals private. Let your improvements unfold without commentary. Each morning, write down one concrete action you will complete that day. Not a vague intention, a specific action. Then complete it without telling anyone. At night, review what you did. Feel the quiet satisfaction of execution. That satisfaction is deeper than applause. Another exercise, practice measured speech. In conversations, wait 2 seconds longer than usual before responding. This small delay forces you to choose your words instead of spilling them automatically. You'll notice how much unnecessary language falls away. What remains is sharper, clearer, more intentional. Over time, this restraint becomes natural. You won't feel the need to dominate discussions. You'll contribute when it matters. And when you do speak, people will listen. You should also learn to detach from the need to win verbal battles. The Stoics were not interested in showing off rhetorical skill. They were interested in living virtuously. Ask yourself, do you want to win arguments or do you want to build strength? These are not always the same thing. Every time you resist the urge to argue unnecessarily, you conserve emotional energy. Every time you choose to act instead of explain, you build credibility. There is a calm intensity that develops when you adopt this mindset. You stop chasing validation through speech. You stop broadcasting every thought. Instead, you channel your effort into tangible progress. You become predictable in the best way, steady, reliable, disciplined. People begin to associate you with follow-through rather than flair. That association is powerful. It creates trust. It won't feel easy at first. You may feel invisible. You may feel underestimated. Let that happen. There is strength in being underestimated. It gives you room to operate without scrutiny. It allows you to build quietly. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, just that you do the right thing, the rest doesn't matter. Take that seriously. You are not here to manage everyone's perception. You are here to manage your own conduct. Be ruthless about cutting empty words from your life. Avoid gossip. Avoid exaggerated storytelling. Avoid making grand statements about who you are. If you are disciplined, show it through routine. If you are reliable, show it through consistency. If you are ambitious, show it through effort. Let your identity emerge from patterns, not proclamations. At the end of each day, ask yourself 2 questions. Did I speak with purpose? And did I act with commitment? Write down honest answers. No excuses, no self-deception. This daily reflection sharpens awareness. Over time, you will notice your speech becoming cleaner, your actions more decisive. And here's something crucial. Saying less does not mean suppressing your voice when it truly matters. It means reserving your voice for what truly matters. When you finally speak with conviction, backed by action, your words carry gravity. They resonate because they are supported by proof. You don't need volume. You don't need theatrics. You need alignment between what you say and what you do. Respect is rarely demanded successfully. It is earned quietly. It accumulates through small, consistent demonstrations of integrity. When you become a person who talks sparingly and executes relentlessly, you develop a grounded presence that others feel immediately. You are not reactive. You are not scattered. You are composed. So begin now. Trim the excess from your speech. Replace commentary with effort. Replace explanation with execution. Let silence become your ally, not your enemy. And let your actions build a reputation that requires no defense. Say less. Do more. It's not just a phrase, it's a discipline. And if you commit to it fully, if you embody it instead of merely repeating it, you will notice something subtle but profound. People will start to listen more closely when you speak. They will trust you more readily, not because you demanded respect, but because you became the kind of person who naturally commands it. Number 6, I don't react, I choose. I don't react, I choose. Say that slowly. Let it settle into your chest. This phrase is more than a clever line, it's a declaration of inner authority. Most people move through life in reaction mode. Someone speaks sharply and they snap back. Something goes wrong and they spiral. A plan changes and frustration spills out before they've even thought about it. Reaction is automatic, it's fast, impulsive, and often regrettable. Choice, on the other hand, is deliberate. It's measured. It carries weight. And when you embody that difference, people feel it immediately. They sense that you are not easily pushed around by circumstances or emotions. That steadiness commands respect without you ever demanding it. The Stoics built their philosophy on this principle. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Notice the word react there. He wasn't saying events are harmless or trivial. He was reminding you that the real power lies in your interpretation and response. Between stimulus and response, there is space. In that space lives your freedom. Most people never enter that space. They leap straight into reaction. You can train yourself to pause there. You can live there. And when you do, your presence changes. You need to understand something clearly. Reacting is easy. Choosing is strength. Reacting is a reflex of the ego. Choosing is an act of character. When you react, you hand control to whatever provoked you. You become a puppet tugged by external strings. But when you choose, you cut those strings. You remain self-directed. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That strength is quiet. It doesn't flare up. It doesn't need to dominate the room. It simply stands firm. If you want people to respect you instantly, stop being emotionally predictable. When someone expects irritation and instead meets calm, it unsettles them in a good way. When tension rises and you remain composed, it signals discipline, not suppression, not coldness. Discipline. You are showing that your emotions pass through you, but they do not own you. That distinction is powerful, but don't just repeat the phrase mechanically. Build the habit behind it. Start with awareness. Throughout your day, notice the micro reactions, the subtle tightening in your jaw, the impulse to interrupt, the surge of defensiveness. These are your training grounds. You don't need dramatic situations to practice. In fact, the small moments are better. They are manageable. They allow repetition. And repetition builds mastery. Here's a practical exercise. The next time you feel triggered, even slightly, pause for 3 breaths. Not 1, 3. Inhale slowly, hold briefly, exhale fully. During those breaths, say internally, "I don't react, I choose." Feel the shift. You are creating space. You are interrupting the automatic loop. At first, it may feel forced. That's fine. New habits always do. Keep going. Over time, the pause becomes natural. Your nervous system learns that it doesn't need to fire instantly. Another practice, at the end of each day, reflect for 5 minutes. Ask yourself, where did I react today? Where did I choose? Don't judge yourself harshly, just observe. The Stoics called this evening review a way to refine character. Seneca described examining his day and holding himself accountable. You can do the same. Awareness sharpens intention. Intention strengthens action. Understand that choosing doesn't mean being passive. It doesn't mean tolerating disrespect or ignoring injustice. It means responding with clarity instead of chaos. You can set boundaries calmly. You can speak firmly without anger dripping from your words. When you choose your response, you communicate that you are in control of yourself. And self-control is magnetic. People trust it. They rely on it. They respect it. There's also an internal shift that happens when you adopt this mindset. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances. You stop narrating your life as a series of things happening to you. Instead, you begin to see each moment as an opportunity to exercise virtue. Courage, patience, temperance, wisdom. Every interaction becomes training. That perspective transforms irritation into practice. Suddenly, challenges are not threats, they are reps at the gym of character. You should also train your body to support your mindset. When emotions rise, your posture changes, your breathing shortens, your voice tightens. Reverse that consciously. Relax your shoulders, slow your speech, lower your tone slightly. These physical adjustments reinforce your mental decision to choose rather than react. The body and mind are not separate in practice. They inform each other constantly. Another powerful exercise is negative visualization. Spend a few minutes imagining situations that would normally provoke you. Picture them vividly. Then visualize yourself remaining composed, thoughtful, deliberate. See yourself responding with measured words. This mental rehearsal prepares you. The Stoics use this technique to reduce shock and build resilience. When the real moment arrives, it feels familiar. You've already practiced choosing. And here's something important: choosing your response protects your energy. Reactions drain you. They spike adrenaline, cloud judgment, and leave residue long after the moment passes. Choice preserves clarity. You don't carry unnecessary emotional baggage into the next interaction. You remain light, steady, focused. That consistency builds a reputation over time. People begin to think of you as grounded, dependable, strong. You might worry that if you don't react, you'll seem indifferent or weak. The opposite is true. Emotional volatility signals fragility. Calm choice signals depth. When you refuse to be yanked around by every external stimulus, you demonstrate that your center is solid. You are not suppressing emotion, you are directing it. That's maturity. Make this phrase part of your identity. Not in a loud, performative way, but internally. When you wake up, remind yourself, today I choose. When you feel pressure building, whisper it mentally, I choose. When you reflect at night, measure your progress by it. Identity shapes behavior. If you see yourself as someone who chooses, you will act accordingly. There will be moments when you fail, you will react. You will speak too quickly or feel regret afterward. Don't spiral, that's just another chance to practice. Acknowledge it, learn from it, reset. The Stoic path is not about perfection, it's about progress. Each pause you create strengthens your discipline. Each deliberate response reinforces your autonomy. Over time, something remarkable happens. The gap between stimulus and response widens naturally. You don't need as much effort to stay composed. Your default state becomes measured rather than reactive. And people notice. They may not articulate it, but they feel it. They sense that you are not easily shaken, that you think before you speak, that you move with intention rather than impulse. I don't react, I choose. Let that sentence become your quiet power. It is not about controlling others. It is about mastering yourself. And self-mastery is the foundation of respect. When you choose your responses, you demonstrate sovereignty over your inner world. You show that your emotions serve you, not the other way around. That kind of presence doesn't need to demand respect. It earns it naturally, steadily, and without noise. Number 7, your opinion doesn't define me. Your opinion doesn't define me. Say that slowly in your mind. Let it land, not as a defensive slogan, not as a sharp retort, but as a calm internal boundary. This phrase isn't about arrogance. It's about ownership. It's about remembering that your identity is not a public project. It's an internal construction built brick by brick through your choices, your discipline, your values. When you truly understand that, something shifts. You stop flinching at every raised eyebrow. You stop shrinking when someone disapproves. You stop inflating when someone applauds. You stand steady. The Stoics were relentless about this. Epictetus put it plainly, "It's not what happens to you but how you react to it that matters." Extend that. It's not what someone says about you but how you interpret it that shapes you. An opinion is just that, an opinion. A perception filtered through someone else's fears, biases, preferences, and limitations. Why would you hand over authorship of your character to that? Why would you allow a passing judgment to carve itself into your sense of self? You have to train yourself to see opinions as weather patterns. They move. They change. They contradict one another. One person praises what another criticizes. One admires what another dismisses. If you try to shape yourself to satisfy all of them, you will fracture. So instead, you ground yourself in something more stable. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Choose not to be harmed and you won't feel harmed." When someone judges you, you have a choice. You can absorb it as a verdict or you can evaluate it calmly and decide whether it aligns with your principles. That pause, that deliberate space between stimulus and response is where your power lives. You need to practice that pause. The next time you feel the sting of someone's words, don't rush to defend yourself. Don't scramble to explain. Don't lash out. Breathe. Literally inhale and exhale slowly. Feel your feet on the ground. Then remind yourself quietly, your opinion doesn't define me. Not in a mocking tone, not in rebellion, just in clarity. You are defined by your actions, your intentions, your consistency over time, not by commentary. This mindset instantly commands respect because it signals emotional independence. When you're not desperate to be validated, people feel it. When you're not rattled by criticism, they notice. You don't have to say much. Your composure speaks. Seneca warned, "He who is brave is free." And bravery in this context means the courage to be misunderstood. It means tolerating the discomfort of disapproval without bending your character to avoid it. Start building this muscle deliberately. Each morning, ask yourself, what qualities do I stand for today? Pick 2 or 3. Maybe it's patience, integrity, discipline. Keep them simple. Write them down. Throughout the day, measure yourself against those traits, not against approval. When someone offers praise or criticism, filter it through your chosen values. Does it help you grow? Good, use it. Does it conflict with your principles? Let it pass. This is how you reclaim your center. You also need to confront your hidden addiction to being liked. Be honest with yourself. There's a part of you that wants approval. That part isn't evil, it's human. But unchecked, it becomes a leash. You start performing instead of living. You start curating instead of acting. The Stoic path asks you to cut that leash gently but firmly. Epictetus advised, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. That's a bold standard. Can you tolerate being misjudged? Can you resist the urge to correct every false assumption? That restraint is strength. Here's a practical exercise. For 1 week, resist explaining yourself unnecessarily. If you make a decision aligned with your values, let it stand without over-justification. Notice the anxiety that bubbles up. Observe it without obeying it. You'll feel exposed at first. That's normal. Stay with it. Each time you refrain from seeking validation, you teach your nervous system that you are safe without it. Over time, the need weakens. Another practice, separate feedback from identity. When someone critiques you, mentally rephrase it. Instead of "I am flawed," shift to "This is information." Create distance. You are not the criticism, you are the evaluator of it. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself constantly that other people's judgments are reflections of their own minds. Remember that. Their opinion tells you something about them, not a final truth about you. And let's be clear, this isn't about closing yourself off. You can still listen. You can still learn. You can still adjust. The difference is that you're not emotionally hijacked. You're deliberate. You're selective. You choose what enters your self-concept. That choice is everything. If you want this phrase to become real for you, you must rehearse it. At night, reflect on moments when you felt defined by someone else's view. Replay them in your mind. This time, imagine responding internally with calm detachment. See yourself steady. Hear yourself thinking, "Your opinion doesn't define me." Visualization strengthens resolve. The Stoics practiced negative visualization to prepare for adversity. You can do the same with social pressure. Anticipate judgment, prepare your response, remove the surprise, respect flows toward those who respect themselves. When you refuse to be shaped by every passing comment, you signal self-trust. And self-trust is magnetic. It doesn't shout, it doesn't posture, it doesn't demand acknowledgement, it simply exists, quiet, firm, unmoved. There will be moments when criticism contains truth. Accept it without self-condemnation. Adjust your behavior if needed. Growth and independence are not opposites, they complement each other. The key is that you change because you choose to, not because you're trying to escape disapproval. That distinction matters more than you think. Make this a daily mantra if you need to. Write it somewhere private, repeat it when doubt creeps in. Your opinion doesn't define me. Over time, it will stop feeling like a shield and start feeling like a fact. You'll notice you react less. You'll speak more calmly. You'll hold eye contact longer. Your energy will feel contained, not scattered by external noise. And that's the essence of Stoic respect. It's not forced. It's not performed. It's earned through consistency and composure. When you define yourself by your virtues rather than by verdicts, you become difficult to intimidate, difficult to manipulate, difficult to shake. So take ownership. Decide that your character is crafted internally through disciplined thought and action. Decide that no fleeting judgment has the authority to rewrite it. Stand by that decision, reinforce it daily, and watch how your presence changes, not because you demanded respect, but because you embodied it. Number 8, time will reveal what words cannot. Time will reveal what words cannot. Sit with that for a moment. Let it breathe. You don't have to rush to explain yourself. You don't have to win every argument. You don't have to correct every misunderstanding the instant it appears. There is a quiet strength in restraint, and when you lean into it, people feel it. They may not admit it out loud, but they sense it. Because most people are addicted to immediacy. They defend quickly, justify endlessly, argue reflexively. When you choose patience instead, you separate yourself from the noise. The Stoics understood this rhythm. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." That is the essence of this phrase. You let your conduct speak. You let consistency do the talking. You stop trying to manage perception through endless explanation. Instead, you anchor yourself in action. You trust that character over time clarifies itself, and that trust is powerful. When you say, "Time will reveal what words cannot," you are signaling composure. You are showing that you don't feel threatened by temporary confusion. You are declaring calmly that truth does not need frantic defense. That kind of steadiness commands respect because it communicates self-possession. You're not scrambling, you're not anxious, you're not desperate to control the narrative. You are willing to let reality unfold. But here's the part you must internalize. This only works if you actually live in alignment with your values. Silence without integrity is weakness. Patience without substance is avoidance. So your first task is to tighten your standards. Decide who you are. Decide what you stand for. Then act accordingly, even when no one is applauding. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." That's your directive. Instead of crafting the perfect defense, craft better habits. Instead of arguing about your intentions, refine your behavior. Instead of insisting on being understood, focus on being consistent. Over time, steady, unglamorous time, patterns emerge. And patterns are louder than promises. You need to train yourself not to chase immediate validation. That urge is strong. When you feel misjudged, your ego flares up. It wants correction. It wants vindication. It wants relief now. Pause, notice that impulse. Don't obey it automatically. Take a slow breath. Remind yourself that rushing to defend often diminishes your presence. The more you over-explain, the smaller you appear. The calmer you remain, the more grounded you seem. Here's a practical exercise. The next time you feel compelled to justify yourself, wait. Not forever. Just wait. Count to 10 slowly. Ask yourself, will my actions over the next week clarify this better than my words right now? If the answer is yes, choose restraint. Let your future behavior do the heavy lifting. This builds emotional discipline. It strengthens your capacity to tolerate temporary discomfort without collapsing into defensiveness. Seneca wrote, "Time heals what reason cannot." That applies to reputation as well. You don't repair misunderstandings through frantic persuasion. You repair them through steady conduct. And sometimes you don't repair them at all, you outgrow them. That's another layer of maturity. Not everyone will update their opinion of you. Some people freeze their judgments in place. Let them. Your responsibility is not to force enlightenment, it is to live well. This phrase also protects your energy. Arguments drain you. Endless clarifications exhaust you. When you accept that time is an ally, not an enemy, you conserve your strength. You redirect your focus toward what you can control, your effort, your attitude, your choices. And that shift alone changes how people perceive you. Calm focus feels different from frantic persuasion. One radiates stability, the other radiates insecurity. Practice strengthening your relationship with time. Each morning, remind yourself that today is one brushstroke on a larger canvas. You don't need to paint the entire picture in a single conversation. You are building something gradual, something cumulative. That mindset reduces urgency. It replaces panic with patience. You can also adopt a daily reflection ritual. At the end of the day, ask yourself, did I act in a way that over time will make this misunderstanding irrelevant? If you did, rest easy. If you didn't, adjust tomorrow. This keeps you accountable without making you reactive. It anchors you in growth rather than gossip. There's another layer here, trust in reality itself. Truth has a way of surfacing. Not always quickly, not always cleanly, but consistently. When you trust that, you stop forcing outcomes. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Notice the order. Do first, say second. Action precedes explanation. Live that way. And understand this clearly, choosing time over talk does not mean you never speak. It means you speak with intention, not desperation. When you do respond, your words carry weight because they are not constant. They are measured, deliberate, grounded. Silence used wisely sharpens your voice. To build this habit, try a weekly challenge. For 7 days, commit to reducing unnecessary self-justification. When you feel misunderstood, write your defense privately instead of voicing it immediately. Let it sit. Revisit it the next day. Often, you'll find it no longer feels urgent. That space between impulse and response is where composure grows. Respect is rarely granted to the loudest person in the room. It gravitates toward the most stable. Stability comes from inner alignment and patience. When you trust that your character will reveal itself over time, you stop performing. You start being. And being is far more convincing. You also free yourself from the illusion that every narrative must be corrected. Sometimes the most powerful move is to let reality unfold without interference, to allow others to observe, to give them space to notice consistency. When they do, their respect feels organic, not coerced. Remind yourself daily, you are not here to win arguments. You are here to cultivate character. That long-term focus reshapes your demeanor. It softens urgency. It deepens your presence. It steadies your tone. And people respond to that steadiness. They feel safe around it. They trust it. Time will reveal what words cannot is not passive. It is disciplined patience. It is controlled confidence. It is the refusal to let momentary friction derail long-term integrity. When you adopt this mindset, you step into a slower, stronger rhythm. You move deliberately. You react thoughtfully. You allow space for truth to breathe. So the next time you feel the heat of misunderstanding, resist the urge to flood the room with explanations. Stand firm. Stay calm. Act well. Let your behavior accumulate quietly. Let time do its work, because in the end it always does. Before you leave, remember this: respect isn't demanded, it's demonstrated. The Stoics understood something most people still miss today. The words you choose shape how the world treats you. These 8 phrases aren't tricks or manipulation. They're signals. Signals of self-control, clarity, and inner strength. When you speak less but speak deliberately, people listen. When you stay calm instead of reactive, people take notice. And when your words align with your principles, respect follows naturally. But here's the real power. These phrases work best when they're backed by action. Use them consistently. Live them quietly. Let your composure do the talking when others are busy proving themselves. That's the Stoic edge. If this video helped you, don't stop here. Rewatch it. Practice one phrase today, then another tomorrow. Over time, you'll notice something subtle but powerful, people treating you differently, without you ever asking for it. If you value self-mastery, inner confidence, and timeless Stoic wisdom, make sure you like the video, subscribe, and stay with this channel. Because the strongest people don't chase respect, they become it.